Have you ever felt like nothing is changing? Have you ever looked at your life and wondered why the answers have not arrived, why the opportunities seem delayed, or why the vision in your heart has not yet become visible? If so, then this message is for you. Because one of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that nothing is happening simply because they cannot see it. We live in a world that teaches us to trust only what our eyes can confirm. We are conditioned to believe that if results are not visible, progress is not being made. If the door has not opened yet, we assume it never will. If the answer has not appeared yet, we assume it is not coming. But life does not work that way. Some of the most powerful transformations happen in silence. A seed develops beneath the soil long before it breaks through the surface. A masterpiece exists in the mind of the artist before it appears on the canvas. A sunrise begins long before the first ray of light reaches the horizon. In the same way, there are seasons in life when everything seems still on the outside, while incredible changes are taking place behind the scenes. The relationships you need may be forming. The opportunities you seek may be approaching. The answers you have been waiting for may already be finding their way to you. What appears to be a delay may actually be preparation. What appears to be an obstacle may actually be redirection. What appears to be stillness may actually be movement hidden from view. The challenge is not whether movement is happening. The challenge is whether you can trust the process while it unfolds. Can you remain calm when there is no visible evidence? Can you remain faithful when circumstances appear unchanged? Can you hold your vision when the outer world seems to disagree? Because true power is not demonstrated when everything is going your way. True power is demonstrated when you maintain your inner certainty despite temporary appearances. Today, we are going to explore the hidden power of unseen change. We will discover why patience is strength, why faith is practical, and why some of life's greatest breakthroughs arrive after periods that seemed completely still. So take a deep breath. Release the need to know every detail. Release the pressure of constant waiting, and prepare to understand why the universe may be rearranging far more than you can currently see. One of the greatest challenges people face is learning to trust what they cannot yet see. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to rely on visible evidence. We are taught to believe only what our eyes can confirm and to measure progress by what is immediately apparent. If results are visible, we feel confident. If they are not, we begin to doubt. Yet some of the most powerful forces in life operate long before they become visible. Think about nature for a moment. A seed is placed beneath the soil, and for a period of time, nothing appears to happen. Day after day, the surface looks exactly the same. To an impatient observer, it might seem as though the seed is doing nothing. But beneath the surface, an invisible process has already begun. Roots are forming, growth is taking place, preparation is happening. The seed is developing the foundation it will need before it can emerge into the light. Life often unfolds in a similar way. Many people abandon their hopes because they do not see immediate evidence of progress. They decide that their dream is impossible because circumstances have not changed quickly enough. They interpret silence as failure and delay as rejection. Yet what they fail to recognize is that some of the most important developments occur beyond their awareness. Not every movement is visible. Not every answer arrives instantly. Not every transformation announces itself at the beginning. Sometimes life is working beneath the surface, arranging conditions, creating opportunities, and preparing pathways that cannot yet be seen. This understanding requires a shift in perspective. Instead of constantly asking, "Why isn't anything happening?" begin asking, "What might be happening that I cannot yet see?" This question changes everything. It moves your attention away from frustration and toward possibility. It replaces fear with curiosity. It encourages trust rather than doubt. Too often, people become trapped by appearances. They look at their current financial situation and assume abundance is impossible. They look at their relationships and assume love will never arrive. They look at temporary setbacks and conclude that their dreams are unattainable. But appearances are not always accurate indicators of reality. History is filled with examples of people who experienced long periods of apparent stagnation before remarkable breakthroughs occurred. There were moments when nothing seemed to be changing externally, yet enormous shifts were taking place internally. Growth often begins in the unseen. Confidence develops before achievement. Faith develops before evidence. Vision develops before manifestation. Character develops before success. These inner changes may not receive attention from the outside world, but they are often the very things that make future breakthroughs possible. Imagine trying to build a skyscraper without first creating a foundation. The taller the building, the deeper the foundation must be. Much of the work occurs below ground where nobody can see it. Yet, without that invisible preparation, the visible structure could never stand. The same principle applies to personal growth. There are seasons in life when it feels as though nothing is happening. You may not see immediate results from your efforts. You may not see evidence that your vision is becoming reality, but that does not mean progress has stopped. Sometimes patience is developing. Sometimes wisdom is growing. Sometimes opportunities are being prepared. Sometimes connections are forming. Sometimes circumstances are shifting in ways you cannot yet understand. One of the greatest mistakes people make is abandoning their faith during these periods. They become discouraged because they expect visible proof before they are willing to trust. But trust becomes most powerful precisely when visible proof is absent. Anyone can believe when results are obvious. Anyone can remain positive when everything is working perfectly. The real test comes when circumstances appear unchanged. Can you maintain your confidence? Can you maintain your vision? Can you continue moving forward even when you cannot yet see the outcome? This is where inner strength is developed. When you stop judging progress solely by appearances, you free yourself from constant emotional ups and downs. You stop allowing temporary conditions to dictate your level of hope. You stop demanding immediate evidence before permitting yourself to believe. Instead, you begin understanding that life contains processes far greater than what is immediately visible. You begin recognizing that not everything valuable can be measured by the eyes. You begin trusting that unseen progress is still progress. So today, release the need to constantly monitor every result. Release the belief that nothing is happening simply because you cannot see it. Release the assumption that delays automatically mean failure. Trust the process unfolding beneath the surface. Trust the growth taking place within you. Trust the possibilities that are developing beyond your current awareness, because some of the most powerful changes in life begin invisibly. And often, what is happening behind the scenes is far more important than what is currently visible in front of you. The unseen is not empty. The unseen is where preparation happens. The unseen is where foundations are built. The unseen is where transformation begins. And in time, what was once invisible can become the very reality standing before you. One of the most limiting habits a person can develop is the habit of judging their future by their present circumstances. It is easy to look at what is happening today and assume that tomorrow will be more of the same. When challenges appear, people often conclude that success is far away. When opportunities seem scarce, they assume abundance is impossible. When progress feels slow, they believe they are stuck. Yet some of life's greatest transformations begin the moment a person stops allowing current conditions to define what is possible. Present circumstances are temporary. They are snapshots, not final conclusions. They represent where you are, not where you are destined to remain. Unfortunately, many people become so focused on what they currently see that they lose sight of what could be. They allow temporary appearances to shape their beliefs, expectations, and emotional state. As a result, they remain trapped within the limitations of their current environment. Think about how often people say things such as, "I'll believe it when I see it." While this may sound practical, it often keeps them stuck. If they only believe in what is already visible, they leave little room for growth, possibility, or change. Every achievement, every breakthrough, and every meaningful transformation begins as an unseen possibility before it becomes a visible reality. Imagine standing in the middle of winter and assuming that spring will never arrive because all you can see is cold weather. The landscape may appear lifeless, but beneath the surface, change is already taking place. The seasons continue moving whether you can see the process or not. Life often works in the same way. Conditions that appear permanent may actually be temporary stages in a much larger process. Many people make the mistake of identifying too strongly with their current situation. If they are experiencing financial difficulty, they begin calling themselves unsuccessful. If they encounter relationship challenges, they assume they are unworthy of love. If they face setbacks in their goals, they convince themselves that they are incapable of achieving success. But circumstances are experiences, not identities. Your current situation does not define your worth. Your temporary challenges do not define your potential. Your present conditions do not determine your future possibilities. The danger of judging by appearances is that appearances constantly change. What seems impossible today may become obvious tomorrow. What feels delayed today may be unfolding perfectly behind the scenes. What appears to be a setback may eventually become the event that redirected your life towards something greater. History is filled with stories of people who faced rejection before success, failure before achievement, and uncertainty before breakthrough. If they had judged their future solely by their present circumstances, they would have abandoned their dreams long before reaching them. This is why perspective matters. When you constantly focus on present limitations, you reinforce them emotionally. You continue thinking from the state of the problem rather than the state of the solution. You keep your attention fixed on what is wrong instead of what is possible. But when you choose a different perspective, everything begins to change. You start asking different questions. Instead of asking, "Why isn't this working?" you ask, "What opportunity might be hidden here?" Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" you ask, "What if this is leading somewhere better than I can currently see?" Instead of focusing on what is missing, you begin focusing on what can be created. This shift does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let reality have the final word. It means understanding that current conditions are simply information, not destiny. They may describe your present experience, but they do not predict your future unless you continually accept them as permanent. The most successful and fulfilled people are often those who maintain a vision beyond present appearances. They see possibilities where others see obstacles. They see growth where others see limitations. They see potential where others see problems. This mindset creates resilience. When difficulties arise, they do not immediately lose hope. When delays occur, they do not assume failure. When circumstances seem unfavorable, they continue believing in what is possible. They understand that appearances are temporary, but vision can be lasting. So today, stop judging your life solely by what is visible right now. Stop allowing temporary conditions to dictate your expectations. Stop assuming that today's circumstances are permanent realities. Instead, remember that life is always changing. New opportunities can emerge, new relationships can form, new ideas can appear, new pathways can open. Your future is not limited by your present circumstances unless you choose to believe it is. Trust that there is more happening than you can currently see. Trust that possibilities exist beyond your current view. Trust that your life can change in ways you cannot yet imagine. Because the moment you stop judging by present circumstances is the moment you create room for a greater future to enter your awareness. And often that future is much closer than it appears. One of the most powerful transformations a person can experience occurs when they stop living in the waiting room of life and begin living from the end they desire. Most people spend years waiting. They wait for success before they allow themselves to feel successful. They wait for love before they feel loved. They wait for abundance before they feel secure. They wait for recognition before they feel valuable. Their happiness is postponed. Their confidence is delayed, and their peace is placed somewhere in the future. Without realizing it, they create a habit of waiting. The problem with waiting is that it keeps your attention focused on what is absent. Every day becomes a reminder that something has not yet arrived. Every delay reinforces the feeling that fulfillment exists somewhere outside of you. The mind becomes occupied with the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Over time, this state of waiting can become an identity. People begin introducing themselves to life through lack. They think from lack. They speak from lack. They make decisions from lack. They expect from lack. And because their attention remains fixed on what is missing, they continue experiencing the emotional reality of waiting. But there is another way to live. Instead of living in the waiting room, you can begin living from the end. Living from the end means mentally and emotionally occupying the state you would naturally experience if your desire were already fulfilled. It means focusing less on the process of getting and more on the experience of already being. It means allowing your inner world to reflect the outcome you seek rather than the delay you currently perceive. Imagine that the goal you desire has already become reality. How would you feel? Would you feel relieved? Would you feel grateful? Would you feel confident? Would you feel peaceful? Would you feel free? Most people spend years chasing circumstances because they believe those circumstances will eventually provide these emotions. Yet the emotions themselves are available right now. This realization changes everything. When you begin generating feelings of gratitude before receiving the outcome, you stop making gratitude dependent on conditions. When you begin feeling confidence before achieving the goal, you stop making confidence dependent on evidence. When you begin feeling peace before circumstances improve, you stop making peace dependent on perfection. You begin discovering that the emotional experience you seek is not waiting in the future. It can be cultivated in the present. This does not mean pretending. It does not mean denying reality. It does not mean ignoring challenges. Rather, it means choosing not to allow present conditions to dictate your inner state. Think about two people pursuing the same goal. One person constantly worries. They count every delay, analyze every obstacle, and focus on every reason why success may not happen. Their attention remains trapped in the waiting room. The second person maintains a sense of confidence. They continue taking action, but they are not emotionally dependent on immediate results. They carry themselves as someone who trusts the process. They think from fulfillment rather than absence. Which person is likely to experience more peace? Which person is likely to make better decisions? Which person is more likely to notice opportunities? The answer is obvious. The state from which you live influences every aspect of your experience. When you live from the end, your actions become more aligned. You stop acting from desperation. You stop seeking constant reassurance. You stop looking for proof every hour of the day. Instead, you move forward with a quiet certainty that allows life to unfold more naturally. Living from the end also transforms the way you view time. People trapped in the waiting room become obsessed with timing. They constantly ask when something will happen. They worry about delays. They compare their progress with others. Every day becomes a countdown to fulfillment. But when you live from the end, timing loses much of its emotional power. You focus on the state rather than the schedule. You focus on the feeling rather than the deadline. You focus on becoming rather than forcing. This creates emotional freedom. You no longer feel trapped by the calendar. You no longer panic when results are not immediate. You no longer believe that every delay is a sign of failure. Instead, you remain anchored in the state you have chosen. This state influences your thoughts, your expectations, and your actions. It helps you remain calm during uncertainty. It helps you maintain confidence during challenges. It helps you continue moving forward even when evidence has not yet appeared. So today, stop sitting in the waiting room of life. Stop postponing your peace. Stop delaying your confidence. Stop believing that fulfillment belongs only in the future. Choose to live from the end. Choose to embody gratitude now. Choose to embody confidence now. Choose to embody peace now. Allow your inner world to reflect the reality you wish to experience. Because the moment you stop identifying as someone who is waiting and start identifying as someone who is becoming, everything begins to change. You stop chasing fulfillment. You start living from it. And when you consistently live from the end, you become increasingly aligned with the very experiences you once believed were far away. That is the power of leaving the waiting room and stepping into the state of fulfillment today. One of the most empowering perspectives you can develop is the belief that every event in your life has the potential to serve your growth. Most people divide their experiences into two categories: good events and bad events. When something pleasant happens, they feel encouraged and optimistic. When something difficult happens, they feel defeated and discouraged. Their emotional state rises and falls depending on how they interpret each situation. But what if every event carried value? What if every challenge, delay, setback, disappointment, and unexpected change contained an opportunity for growth? This does not mean that every experience feels pleasant. It does not mean that difficulties should be ignored or denied. Rather, it means understanding that even uncomfortable situations can contribute to your development if you choose to learn from them. Many of the qualities people admire most, wisdom, patience, resilience, confidence, and strength, are rarely developed during easy times. These qualities often emerge through challenges. They are forged through experiences that require adaptation, perseverance, and inner growth. Think about the moments in your life that have taught you the most. Often, they were not the moments when everything went perfectly. They were the moments when you had to overcome obstacles, recover from disappointment, or find strength you did not know you possessed. At the time, those experiences may have seemed unfair or unnecessary. Yet, looking back, you may recognize that they helped shape who you are today. This is why perspective matters so much. A person who views every challenge as a punishment will often feel powerless. A person who views every challenge as a potential lesson will often feel empowered. The event may be the same, but the interpretation changes the experience. One of the greatest sources of suffering comes from resistance. People often spend enormous amounts of energy fighting reality. They argue mentally with what has already happened. They replay situations repeatedly in their minds. They wish circumstances were different and become trapped in frustration because they cannot change the past. But growth begins when acceptance enters the picture. Acceptance does not mean approval. Acceptance does not mean giving up. Acceptance simply means acknowledging what is without allowing it to destroy your peace. Once acceptance occurs, a new question becomes possible. What can this teach me? This question transforms obstacles into opportunities. Instead of focusing solely on what was lost, you begin focusing on what can be gained. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, how can this help me grow? This shift changes everything. Many events that initially seem negative later reveal hidden benefits. A missed opportunity may redirect you toward something better. A failed plan may lead you to a more fulfilling path. A difficult relationship may teach valuable lessons about self, worth, and boundaries. A period of uncertainty may develop patience, trust, and inner strength. At the moment these events occur, their purpose may not be obvious. That is why trust becomes so important. Trust allows you to remain open to possibilities beyond your current understanding. It allows you to believe that today's challenge may contain tomorrow's breakthrough. It allows you to move forward without needing every answer immediately. Life often unfolds in ways that cannot be fully understood while they are happening. What seems like a setback today may later become one of the most important turning points in your journey. This is why maintaining faith during difficult seasons is so valuable. Faith is not the belief that challenges will never occur. Faith is the belief that challenges do not have the final word. Faith is trusting that growth can emerge from difficulty. Faith is understanding that every experience can contribute to your development. When you adopt this perspective, you become less fearful of change. You stop seeing every unexpected event as a threat. You stop assuming that every delay means failure. You stop believing that every obstacle exists to stop you. Instead, you begin viewing life as a teacher. Every experience becomes an opportunity to learn something new about yourself. Every challenge becomes an invitation to grow stronger. Every disappointment becomes a chance to develop greater wisdom. This mindset creates resilience because it prevents temporary setbacks from defining your future. You become more adaptable. You become more patient. You become more confident in your ability to navigate uncertainty. Most importantly, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You begin seeing yourself as someone capable of growing through them. So today, trust that every event can serve your growth. Trust that even the experiences you do not fully understand may have value. Trust that life is not always working against you. Sometimes it is working on you. Sometimes it is preparing you. Sometimes it is teaching you. Sometimes it is strengthening you. And sometimes it is guiding you toward a future greater than the one you originally imagined. Do not judge every event by its immediate appearance. Do not assume that every challenge is a setback. Remain open. Remain curious. Remain willing to learn. Because when you trust that every event can serve your growth, you stop fearing life's changes and begin discovering the hidden opportunities within them. And often, those hidden opportunities become the very things that transform your life in the most meaningful ways. One of the greatest challenges on any journey of transformation is maintaining faith during the period between planting a vision and seeing it become reality. Most people feel confident when results are visible. They feel hopeful when circumstances are improving. They feel motivated when evidence supports their expectations. But what happens when there is no visible proof? What happens when the outer world appears unchanged? What happens when days, weeks, or even months pass without obvious signs of progress? This is where true faith is tested. Anyone can believe when success is already visible. Anyone can remain positive when everything is going